Hello everyone, Jolene here from Bookworm Adventure Girl. Welcome back. And if you are new, thanks for checking out my channel. Please hit subscribe and stick around. Today I am so excited because I am doing the first video for Tuesdays with Toni, which is the reading project that I am doing with my good friend AJ from AJ Dunn Reads and Writes. AJ and I are reading all of Toni Morrison's novels, all of her fiction, in publication order throughout the whole year. And today we start with her debut novel, The Bluest Eye. I will leave a link to our introduction videos and to AJ's video for The Bluest Eye in the description box below, so you can go and check that out. So let's chat about the context of this book. The Bluest Eye was published in 1970. Toni Morrison was 39 years old, and this is her debut novel. So at this point in her life, she had graduated from Howard, received a graduate degree from Cornell, was an English instructor. She got married, had 2 sons, got divorced, and at this point she's living in New York and she's the editor for Random House. She started writing The Bluest Eye in 1965, and for 5 years, in a time where she was unhappy, while her sons were sleeping at night, Toni wrote her first novel. So her motivation for writing the book was because she couldn't find the book that she wanted to read. So she decided to write it. And I love this approach, to write a book you want to read. And it totally makes sense that she wanted to read about people like her, right? She wanted that experience that we talk about now, about how important it is for people, especially children, to find themselves in the books that they're reading. And for many minority groups, this has not been easy, almost impossible sometimes. So the idea for the story came from a conversation that Toni had with a childhood friend when they were in elementary school, and the friend wanted blue eyes. And Toni says in the foreword that writing this book was her attempt to answer some of the questions. You know, how her friend learned this self-loathing, who made her feel that way, and, you know, that she was better to be a freak rather than what she was. So this is the first thing that really resonated with me in The Bluest Eye, and it was the fact that this is a book written by a Black woman for Black women, and it is really for everyone. And even I, as a white woman, could find something in it that made sense to me and that I could make my own. And that is genius. That's genius for any book, but to do this so well in a debut novel, it blew me away. The book is not autobiographical, except geographically. So it is set in Toni Morrison's hometown. And she says that for the characters, she did pull from real people. So I will leave a link to an interview that I really enjoyed with Toni where she talks about The Bluest Eye. So if you are interested in, you know, hearing her experience from her, then you can go and check that out. So I'm going to give a very quick summary of this story, and I'm going to do my best to not give any spoilers. It's kind of hard to not give spoilers and really talk about it, but I'm going to try. So the book is divided by seasons, beginning in autumn of 1940, then, you know, winter, spring. You get the idea. You know how seasons work. It begins with 2 sisters, Claudia, who is 9, and Frida, who is 10. And they live with their parents, who take in boarders. And one of the boarders is a young girl named Pecola. Pecola is the protagonist of this story. And in the beginning, she is contrasted with Claudia and Frida. So although everyone in this whole book is experiencing some kind of hardship, there are distinct differences between the girls. Claudia and Frida live a more stable life surrounded by loving parents who want to protect them. And Pecola, who eventually does go back to live with her family, her mother, father, and brother, her home life is not stable. And we slowly get the background of each of her family members to understand why they are behaving the way they do. And the predominant theme in the book is that whiteness equals beauty. Pecola believes herself to be ugly, and she is surrounded by people who confirm this. You know, it's on TV, it's people in her community, and it's even her own mother. So her mother, Polly, believes that she herself is ugly because she has a deformed foot. She has a deformed foot. And she loves the house of the White family that she cleans more than her own. And so in many ways, she models the self-hatred and perception that white is better. She's a complex character and not a warm, nurturing mother, but rather an unhappy woman that uses the power that she does have to keep others down, and that's including her daughter. So Pecola dreams of being white. She wants to be like Shirley Temple, and she prays for blue eyes. And she believes that if she was white, she would be beautiful and all of her troubles would kind of go away and people would love her. You know, her family would love her. And she becomes obsessed with this idea of having blue eyes. And unfortunately for Pecola, her troubles, don't go away. And she continues to be, I'm going to say, used by people, and it never gets the support that she really needs. And this is where, it's difficult to tell you more without spoiling the story. So I'm going to end there, I think. I have to say that I wasn't expecting the story to be so serious. This deals with a lot of really heavy topics. The family dynamics alone are really heavy. There's abuse and violence and mental health as well, which I think would have been pretty taboo in 1970. So that was interesting. What I loved the most about the book was the writing. It is beautifully written. I felt like I was inside a poem that had, flowy rhythm to it. Again, especially for a debut novel, I just thought that the writing was incredible. It makes me excited that we are, reading more of her work in order to see how the writing develops or changes, because it's already so impressive. I thought the use of the Dick and Jane narrative, there's a narrative at the beginning of each section, and I thought it was brilliant. We are probably all aware of the, see Jane run, see Dick and Jane, which was used to teach children how to read. So at the beginning of each section, a few sentences are used, and in each section they are closer and closer together. So what I thought this meant, and I don't know if this is really what it is, but as I said earlier, it's something that, all of us can relate to, but only in familiarity. So these characters were white. So to a young Black girl, there would be no connection other than to see that these white characters, seemed happy with their dog in a seemingly perfect house. So for the characters in this book, that is not their experience. Certainly, that is not Pecola's experience. And what makes those characters different than her, they're white. So therefore, I can see, the logic to a young girl could easily be that white is better. And for Pecola, her mother and many people in the town, that is what they believe as well. And the sentences at the beginning of each section are written closer and closer together, so that by the end there are no spaces, not only between the words but even the letters, and it makes it harder to read. And I thought a couple of different things about this and what the reason could be for this. And one is that it shows Pecola maybe getting closer and closer to her dream, but I'm kind of leaning more towards, it becomes more difficult to read and understand, and it shows the confusion, and I'm going to say corruption, of Pecola's life. And I thought it was just very powerful. And there's actually a lot of symbolism in this book. One that surprised me were the marigolds. So they were a strong symbol for me, and they represented life and gave hope, especially to Claudia and Frida, that maybe they could help Piccola, and that maybe there was a chance for new life. And this is just really a sad book. I don't think that I was expecting it to have so much sadness and so much depth. In fact, when I first read it, I rated it 4 stars. Now, why? Like, I don't really know, except I'm wondering if it was because of all the sadness. I don't need a book to have a happy ending, but I think I was hoping for hope. And the reality is that sometimes, it doesn't work out that way. And now it's been a couple of weeks since I've read the book, and I have reflected quite a bit on it, and I had to change my rating to a 5-star. Piccola is a character that I will never forget. I learned, and I think will continue to learn from her. And Toni Morrison delivered exactly what she set out to do. In fact, I want to share probably about 2, maybe 3 paragraphs from the foreword that was written by Toni. And it's, let me just find it here. It's where she describes her intention in writing this book. It says, "There can't be anyone, I am sure, who doesn't know what it feels like to be disliked, even rejected, momentarily or for sustained periods of time. Perhaps the feeling is merely indifference, mild annoyance, but it may also be hurt. It may even be that some of us know what it is like to be actually hated. Hated for things we have no control over and cannot change. When this happens, it is some consolation to know that the dislike or hatred is unjustified, that you don't deserve it. And if you have the emotional strength and or support from family and friends, the damage is reduced or erased. We think of it as the stress, minor or disabling. That is part of life as a human. When I began writing The Bluest Eye, I was interested in something else. Not resistance to the contempt of others, ways to deflect it, but the far more tragic and disabling consequences of accepting rejection as legitimate, as self-evident. I knew that some victims of powerful self-loathing turn out to be dangerous, violent, reproducing the enemy who has humiliated them over and over. Others surrender their identity, melt into a structure that delivers the strong persona they lack. Most others, however, grow beyond it. But there are some who collapse, silently, anonymously, with no voice to express or acknowledge it. They are invisible. The death of self-esteem can occur quickly, easily in children before their ego has legs, so to speak. Couple the vulnerability of youth with indifferent parents, dismissive adults, and a world which in its language, laws, and images reinforces despair, and the journey to destruction is sealed. The project then, for this, my first book, was to enter the life of the one least likely to withstand such damaging forces because of youth, gender, and race. Begun as a bleak narrative of psychological murder, the main character could not stand alone since her passivity made her a narrative void. So I invented friends, classmates who understood, even sympathized with her plight, but had the benefit of supportive parents and a feistiness all their own. Yet they were helpless as well. They could not save their friend from this world. She broke. So just in these first few paragraphs, Morrison is able to capture the attention of everyone and make it about a specific experience. And the genius in this is that I will never know what it's like to be a Black woman. I will never know a Black experience, but I feel like I experienced something. And with The Bluest Eye, it's without judgment that it puts every single person in the story. I feel like I lived this story. And it shows us a perspective that we may never have had otherwise. So I really think that this is an incredible novel, and I'm really glad that we started with this one. Please let me know if you have read The Bluest Eye or if you want to read it. What were your thoughts, and what are your feelings about this? Because it does evoke a lot of feeling. Do you agree, disagree? And I'm looking forward to our next book in the series, which is Sula. AJ and I will be posting about our thoughts on Sula on March the 7th. So until then, I look forward to chatting with you in the comments. Thanks again for watching. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and don't forget to make every day an adventure.